Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episodes 1 and 2 of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power Season 5. So, yeah, we're finally here with the final season. This is replacing Ruby, basically up until Ruby returns from hiatus. And it's scheduled so that it will release 2 episodes every week, except the last week, which will be 3 episodes. And then it'll be perfect for when Ruby comes back. So first of all, you may be wondering, some of you may be wondering why we're in my room. Well, to put simply, my father has taken this week between Christmas and the New Year off. So I'm going to be recording everything in here for just this week. To try and be nicer and, not be too distracting or too, rude by recording out there. So we're just recording in here for this week. So just get used to this background, all the stuff you see here, all these alcohol bottles and the other stuff on my shelf. Just for the course of this week, then we'll go back to normal starting next week. But with the bigger picture, with She-Ra. So with season 4, we left off on a very tumultuous moment. Like, Horde Prime has come through. And everything's gone to shit. Everything's going to shit. And it's probably going to get worse from here. It's probably not going to get better. So this is the final season of the series. And I will say right off the bat, there are a couple things I know. Only a couple. And I don't know the context behind them. So for now, I'm going to kind of give, excuse me, I'm going to kind of give things the benefit of the doubt and see where it goes and hope for the best. Excuse me. But yeah, I don't know exactly where it's going to go. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I just know 2 basic things, and we're going to kind of have to see like what comes of them. But other than that, I am pretty much completely blind. I'm excited to find out, though, like, the context behind those and to see what happens and everything. I said it before, I really love this series. It's been fantastic, and I really hope it doesn't go the same way that shows like Steven Universe and Star Versus have, where it's like, oh, it's so good, but then it ends up ruining itself at the end. I hope it's not one of those series. I really want this to retain its quality in the end. Even if it makes a couple mistakes here or there, a couple bad choices, as long as it retains its overall quality. One of the things that I know about, you can probably guess at, because let's be honest, it's everywhere. It's been everywhere since it first happened. It's going to continue to be everywhere. So you could probably guess at that, but just to be safe for other people watching who may be watching blind, I'm going to not say what it is. Also, for reactions starting today, we will be using my newer headphones. I still have my old headphones. They still work, but I do want to kind of make the switch over now. I was wondering when I was going to do that, and I think it's time. I showed these off in a stream before. They're a new pair of or not a stream, a video before their new pair of headphones I got, because the old one was starting to have some issues, and while the issues have kind of come and gone, it's good to have an extra pair anyway. So we're going to be using these going forward, starting today. And so yeah, like I said, this will be 2 episodes a week, every week, until the final week, which is the week that Ruby technically comes back, but for first members, which means we still have to wait a week after that to actually upload stuff via Rooster Teeth's request. So yeah, which yeah, that's fine. But that week we'll still put up Shira, and we'll have the final 3 episodes. Is what I'm saying. Um, so I'm excited. I'm very excited to see what we have in store for this final season. And once it's over, it's over. So hopefully it goes really well, and we finally have a really good modern series that ends well. um, Not really counting Adventure Time because I know that ends well, but I don't like know all the details, and I still haven't technically finished it. Um, I haven't even really continued too much from where we left off. But I really, really have hopes for this one. I really do. It's got so much good going for it. I just really want it to stick the landing, you know? Just really want it to get that last little bit perfect. Um, but yeah, yeah. Like I said, I'm excited. I'm also nervous. I did not expect to love this show as much as I did when I first started it, mainly because I was never like, again, as I said in the past, I never really watched She-Ra actively. I always watched He-Man more, and even then, I wasn't like super actively into it. Um, but it's like I never expected the reboot to be this good. I just didn't. I'm glad it is though. Anyway, I've been procrastinating, or not really procrastinating, but holding off on this long enough. I've been just trying to. My mind's blanking on the word. Just you know what I mean. I've been pushing it off long enough. So we're gonna get to this. We're gonna continue. Um, so yeah, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so great start to the season, kicking things off very well with all of these characters and showing kind of I guess you could call it rebellion against Horde Prime taking over. We get to see what everyone's doing, how they're handling things, and most of them not so well. Let's start with on the ship. So on Horde Prime's flagship, we see that Glimmer and Catra are just trying to kind of get by. Catra's trying to do it by, being Catra, flipping sides like a coin and just trying to play to the whims of whoever's in charge. In this case, Horde Prime. That's typical Catra. Except this time, I mean, she doesn't even slightly mean it because this time she's doing it out of entirely fear. She's afraid of Horde Prime, and she's just doing this to survive. Unlike in the past, she's done it more as a strategy to work her way up as part of a grab of power. This time, it's, again, more for survival. Glimmer, meanwhile, is being kept prisoner, but occasionally being let out to meet with Horde Prime, where he's just basically flaunting his takeover of other worlds over her. It's like, oh, hey, you see this orb? This was the most prized artifact of this civilization that I completely wiped out. They're all gone. This is the only thing that's left. Do you get it? Comply. That's pretty much what he's saying the entire time. It's like he's flaunting his victories over all these other civilizations and telling her without actually saying it that she needs to comply, or this is what is going to happen. The only problem is, I think it's very clear, and I think even she can tell, he plans on destroying Etheria anyways. That it doesn't matter if she complies or not. That it's not actually going to change anything here. It's not actually going to change what he does. So it's like, what's the point whether she does or not? um, it's not really going to change much. The only thing that he might do is let some people live with her if she complied. But that's even a big maybe. And there's no guarantee that he would, and that he'd even let her survive in the end. So it's like, again, what's the point? um, Meanwhile, Adora's having these visions and dreams of kind of like the essence of Shira guiding her and trying to help her, but due to her fears, due to her feelings of insecurity and inadequacy, and kind of in a way, almost PTSD, she's very much not been in the right mindset. On top of that, she's been having very tumultuous sleep and just not been sleeping well at all, to the point where that's affecting her as well, both her mental abilities and just general, like, discernment of situation and her own self at this point. So she's struggling on that side, while everyone else is struggling against the forces of Horde Prime and trying to figure things out, especially where Glimmer is. They end up having to rely on, like, finding the signal with help from Entrapta, but they get angry at her when it seems that she's just being Entrapta, being weird, being ridiculous, not understanding people, and they get angry because she seems to be putting them in more danger. And she kind of has her moment. Like, all these characters have had these good moments, and I'm sure they'll even have more to come, but this was definitely one for Entrapta here. When she realizes that they're upset at her, when she realizes that they are angry at her, and she tells them that she's never been good with people, that she's never been good at these social cues and social interactions, that science is what she's good at. And because of it, it's what she's tended to put her entire self into. But she also notes that she does want to save Glimmer, that she is legitimately trying, and that she does still want to find that signal to help them. She's just not good at the social part of it. And it's been stated that she was written to be seen as kind of this, like, not really allegory, that's the wrong word, but she was written to kind of be seen as having a disorder such as autism. Um, and you can very much see it here. As someone with autism myself, I can very much connect to a lot of the things, like especially not understanding certain social cues, not understanding all the time people's emotions towards you. And that kind of singular one track focus that people with autism and other similar disorders can have at times. Um, and it's clear that this is what they were going for. And I really like that, because it just feels like she's not being made into just a joke about it. Yeah, she's kind of funny and weird and goofy, but she's still a serious character, and this scene shows it. Like, she does want to help, and she does kind of command that respect. And in the end of this, in the end, during the second episode, when she gets it, and when she's like actually shown by Mermista to be valued, you see how that moves her. Because it matters that someone's not just looking at her as weird, as the geek princess. She's being seen as a member of the team, and she's being valued, especially by someone who she just had realized was angry at her before. And that's important to her, to be valued despite her issues. So yeah, that was great to see. Um, but yeah, they end up finding out where the ship is, where Horde Prime's flagship is, but they have to get out to it. So yeah, at the end of episode 2 here, they head off into space. A large part of the group remains behind. Really, the only ones who went are Adora, Bo, and Entrapta. So most of them stayed behind. So that unfortunately worries me that we're not going to get a lot of them this season, this final season. That because we gotta focus on Adora as the main character, and because the entire at this point in the season at least, saving Glimmer is the main focus. That's going to be where entirely the story focuses on. We might see little bits of the ongoing battle on Etheria with the rest of the princesses, but I'm honestly thinking they're probably going to be like left to the wayside in this final season, which is really disappointing because they're such good characters and they're so fascinating. It's just to see all of them kind of just thrown off to the side, just to focus on characters who we've been with since the first season. It feels sad, and on top of that, it's disappointing. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll end up having more of a role still, and maybe even this entire journey into space won't take as long as we think it will. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But I'm hoping that they're not just kind of left to the wayside, and that especially includes Natasa and Spinnerella, who I know have always been more of minor side characters than everyone else. But still, it's just like I want to see more of them. Because honestly, that's the biggest flaw with this series, as much as I love it. The biggest flaw with the series is easily the the fact that there's so many characters and so many of them just end up feeling underutilized. Perfuma is a great example of one of the more main princesses who feels underutilized. She just doesn't have as many great moments as others. Mermista is better used most of the time. Scorpia is much more of a main character. Frosta's one of the lesser ones as well. And it's just like they're not as evenly focused on it. It means some of them get kind of left behind almost. Like Entrapta had a notable role to play in a storyline, so yeah, she got plenty of time and focus, but others just haven't. And it's sad. It really is. Um, Horde Prime is sufficiently intimidating. He definitely is. His entire thing about being the light and bringing peace through basically destruction is not something that is new. Like, we've seen this kind of thing before, but I like the way they're handling it nonetheless. Um, and yeah, there's still some hangups from the past season and everything that I still have. The fact that Micah is still there, like I've said it before, but bringing him back was a terrible decision. It just it invalidates the entire emotional depth of Angela's loss. The emotional depth of Angela's loss wasn't just centered on Glimmer losing her mother. I mean, yes, that was definitely a big part of it, but it was also centered on the fact that Glimmer was now an orphan, that she had no parents, no living family. And the big thing about that was that she still had her found family, her friends, who are just as close to her and just as important to her. It was such a good concept that is entirely ruined by the fact that Micah survived all this time and that he was alive the entire time. It just it makes it feel so less, and that's really disappointing. That's really disappointing. And the fact that they're still treating another hangup from last season, the fact that they're still treating um, oh God, what is her name? My mind is blanking. Shadow Weaver. The fact that they're still treating Shadow Weaver as untrustworthy, yet are fully accepting Scorpio, by the way, is extremely like hard to watch. Because let's be honest here, it's like, yeah, Shadow Weaver did some shitty stuff. That's undeniable. But not trusting her at this point is not only illogical, as she's proven herself time and time again to be on their side completely, but in the middle of an invasion by the strongest and most intimidating enemy they've ever faced, who makes Hordak look like nothing, like a puppy, they're still going to hold out this mistrust for her. They're still going to just treat her as if she can't be trusted, as if she's not a good guy now. It's like, really? That is so irresponsible. In the middle of a basically a war like this against Horde Prime, you can't be doing this. This isn't okay. Uh, but yeah, it's like it's annoying. It really is. Um, and we know certain things are going to happen this season for sure. We know that eventually Adora is going to become Shira again. We don't know how, but it's going to happen. And the vision of the spirit of Shira or whatever that was is definitely the key to that. We know that eventually our heroes are going to win. The opening even blatantly tells us that they're going to win in the end. um, we know that everyone's going to be saved. Everything's going to turn out well. It's like, that's not really the point. The point of this is not where it's going to end because we know how it's going to end. The point is, how are we going to get there? This is definitely at this point a series about the journey rather than the destination, about how we get to where we're getting, about what events lead us to that. And that's fine. That's completely fine. Uh, um, it's just going to be interesting to see what happens now because there's like what 13 episodes, something like that. Um, and this is episode 2 we got to today, and we're already heading into space to get to Horde Prime's ship. So it's like, okay, now what? Now what? Like, obviously they're not going to get to it right away, but I assume they're going to get to it probably by episode 6. So it's like, maybe even sooner than that. So it's like, what's going to happen? What events are going to lead to what we already know is going to happen? Of course, Glimmer being saved and everything, probably Catra too. What is going to lead to that? That's what we're going to have to find out. But yeah, like I said, these first two episodes were fantastic. They were great. Great setup for the rest of the season. Very excited to see how this goes. Sad that we're on the final season, but I really hope it ends well and is definitely not like Steven Universe or Star Versus and actually ends on a good note rather than fizzles out into bad writing and shit, shitty decisions, all of that jazz. But tell me in the comments below what you thought of these first two episodes of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power and season 5. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.